Welcome to the Archotechs, a RimWorld fluid ideology series about pursuing the Archonexus. Episode 64, Under the Smoke. To briefly recap last episode, we had protected some of the Shattered Empire from a shuttle crash, and we took on one wounded and two prisoners that were trying to attack the shuttle. How tribals downed a shuttle, I do not know. We had made a very good amount of progress here in the throne room, and what I'm hoping to do this episode is to get the piano out and then have a dignified throne room and dignified bedrooms for everybody. The current goal is to finish up the piano research and make a piano so that we can set ourselves up with the dignified throne room, but also pivoting afterwards to fulfill the beer brewing, because Bunny managed to get a whole lot of wort from the other map tile. Another thing I'd like to do is to enclose the steam geyser room so that I can stop burning so much fuel in our fires, saving ourselves considerable wood. Speaking of wood, let's go ahead and set up a tree cutting zone. So this zone here is going to be the designated zone for us to cut down trees when we need more wood. I can paint it once and toggle it on and off, which is a lot more convenient than having to individually signal each and every tree to be cut down. All that you need to do to set up a zone like this is to turn off sowing, and then to make sure there's no little accidental extra spots in the zone. And then anytime we need wood, we turn allow cutting on and turn it off when we have enough. Pretty soon here, I think that Bray, the slave, will be joining us, so let's go ahead and get more clothing for the slaves so that they get suppressed when they join. Another thing I have to do is to move the weapons that I have, because the weapons that I have are going to trigger a slave rebellion. So I'm going to put an important stockpile up here, and this is just temporary storage for now. I'm not going to zone the slaves away from that room. And putting it up there will keep these slaves from being around these weapons to not encourage them to either rebel or run away. There we go. We have 2 pieces of clothing for the next slave. Now that we're enclosing the inner courtyard, I guess, is what we could call it, I'm going to remove it from the wolf zone so that they don't travel in here. I'm also going to change the location of Noluk's bedroom door so that during a manhunter attack, Noluk can't get marooned. And we are stone cutting slate until we hit 300, which will be enough for the meditation throne. For the piano, we are going to need steel, which I have a pretty good amount of, but it wouldn't be a terrible idea to have Bunny start to do mining as soon as Bray joins us, because Bray is a cook that can take over her cooking tasks. And then that way we will have enough steel to add lights and cabling and the like to this base. So that is coming soon. And I believe next person that talks to Bray will recruit her. The thug crew attacking the other map tile, so this is really of no concern of mine. Can ignore that entirely. and trust in walling up everything that needs to be walled down here so that we can secure the building and close it all. Okay, here we go. And joined. Set her up with slave clothing. Give her cooking work. And then plant cut work. And then craft work. She's going to lose her name. And then in a second here, lose her tattoos. Done. I would like to get some metal cables up and around the base here so that we can start to use electricity to light the base instead of campfires. So that's all the cabling for now. I'm sure I'll add more. In fact, I'm definitely going to want cables back here as well so that I can light up the ritual room too. So get that underway. It's a lot of cables. And now that we have a full-time slave cook, we can take Bunny off of the cooking task and put her on mining and cut and grow, which we have a lot of work for her to do on that front. I also have forgotten to update the home zone. So getting that updated so that we can repair the broken battery. Our corpse freezer is just about maxed up. And we have a mech cluster to our northwest. This is a smoke spewer that will cut off the sun. It assembles lancers. This spewer is active immediately. Got it. I think I have a way I would like to deal with this. One easy way would be to have the slaves just tank for me and to shred these turrets. But I have something else in mind. Now, smoke spewers are really not that much of a problem for this colony because we don't rely too heavily on solar power. We have no solar power generators. We have our own sun lamp for the only grow that we have. So it's not urgent that we resolve that, in my opinion. Another thing I'm going to need to do is to reassign the bed so that Slave 2 has a bed. So I'm moving it out here to set it up for slaves, and then I'm moving it in here so that we don't unassign Slave 1's bed. Done. And then all we have left is this door, I believe. So setting Trustin up there to finish off in closing up our Steam Geyser workshop. Fantastic. All of the stone cutters are going to be set up for any blocks. I believe I have enough slate for the Grand Meditation Throne, so we don't need to specifically cut slate anymore. So we'll be cutting whatever there is instead. Bunny is continuing with the tree cutting. And then, as soon as I feel like we have enough wood to satisfy the fire requirements of our base, I'm going to be sending Bunny over to the neighboring Ancient Danger to see if I can't get an animal pulsar. An animal pulsar would shred this mech cluster into nothing very quickly. There was other alternatives that I could do. I could do a salvo. Maybe I will do a salvo. It's even easier. And Bunny has the honor for it. It's off cooldown, in fact. So that will be my my way to clear it out, I think. So now that this is enclosed up here, I can start moving the work facilities into this room and then illuminating it so that we can see what the heck we're doing. There we go. That should keep us from wandering around in the dark. And this will require a fair bit of steel, which is why as soon as I feel like I have enough wood from Bunny, I'm going to pivot and have her start mining. Oh. Well, that's actually not that big of a deal. Just a little bit of rice. I'm going to keep the sun lamp off, and I am going to harvest what little rice there is left, and then plant the whole thing. So beer brewing is done. We're going to go towards fabrication next. With beer brewing done, I'm going to want to set up a zone which is temperature controlled, sort of like how the farm is here, and get the wort loaded into fermentation barrels so we can have a lovely source of beer for our colony. Also, what is a little overdue is, and maybe I'll have Trust do it, is to get the piano made. I don't have enough wood yet, but given all of what Bunny is cutting, I suspect I'll have it soon. So I'll be moving the smithy up here, powering it on, and making a piano for the throne room. Okay. The piano queue requires 220 wood and 120 steel. And then, of course, this will be made only with Trustin. And I believe I have enough resources to start that up. Now that we have this room over here enclosed, I think it makes sense to move the work facilities into this room so that the smithy can benefit and will work faster in the light. This, oh, I didn't mean to break the stockpile, but this room finally lost its fire source, so it's dark, and it's eventually going to be our we're going to have to move this. It's this room is eventually going to be our dining room. Okay, here comes the piano. And then I think what I could do is to move our general stockpile in here to make the dining room a little bit nice looking. So we're gonna disallow meals or all foods Let's do meals, except for pack of survival, and raw food from it. And then also work. And that should basically be the stockpile we had prior. Oh, also weapons. No weapons get stored in there either. This stockpile is, of course, temporary as well. So here comes the piano. And I am going to make these slaves haul the things where they belong. Getting rid of the last remaining campfires that have burned out. It also means that we have horses in the dark, but don't really care about that. They don't mind. So these two, Duck is very close to be converted, but Kasai, or whatever her name is a little bit longer. Maybe we'll have a conversion ritual for her, perhaps. I'm going to micromanage No Luck a little bit, just to get rid of these old campfires that we don't need any longer. It would also be a good idea to put some lights in the research room, because poor Sven can't see what the heck he's doing in there. And then to also get some of these lights that have been queued up and not built as well. Piano is done. It's obviously not the highest quality. I didn't get alerted. But that is the final touch for the throne room, other than the lit braziers. So Bunny is going to go light those up. And now, it's dignified. There we go. Wonderful. At this point, we basically don't have any more campfires. We have 2 braziers and 3 wood fire generators. So our demand for wood is, I would say, back into sort of a reasonable threshold. I'm going to force Trustin to do some light crafting. Now, the reason why I haven't made any heaters yet is because heaters require components, and I'm trying to save the components for when I have a fabrication bench. Because if I use up all the components before then, we don't get a fabrication bench, and components become a bottleneck for our progress. So the next thing I want Trustin to build is the Slate Grand Meditation Throne. And then maybe have Bunny go and salvo this. Although the worry here is, yes, they have a high mech shield. Okay. So the issue with the high mech shield is it will block a salvo. So I am going to take a different tact. I'll probably poke into this ancient danger to see what there is. I don't think for slavery purposes. I mean, if I end up imprisoning them, that's great. But it's mostly going to be for what artifacts are in there. I'm not going to go to the lengths to try to fire trap them. It's just too much effort, and it is not worth it, in my opinion. So, No Luck, I would like you to construct over craft. And at this point, our kitchen or dining room rather, is all set up. A component mining site. Oh, wow. 14 people, 69 components. That's kind of nice. So, Duck has converted. Duck is going to be enslaved now. And the Kasai is probably going to be sacrificed as she is the last prisoner standing. Got low tolerance for those that do not join us. Okay, I kind of didn't want a steel Ikla put in there, but alright. It's fine, I suppose. Now, Bunny has smoke pop, which will mask ourselves from the turrets here. So what I could try to do is I could try to smoke pop to blow up the high shield and then salvo it. Sven has invisibility, which is another one that would be, and as does Bunny, which would be another one pretty effective to take out either the smoke spewer or the high shield or something like that. So I think at this rate, what I need to do is to have Sven start to raise his psi focus. If I'm going to take out that mech cluster, having 2 powerful psi casters is going to be better than 1. Trusted, on the other hand, has skip shield, which is again a really powerful psi cast as well. So maybe I also have Trustin do some meditation, just because I want to limit the amount of injuries that I receive from killing off the cluster up there. A legendary throne. So that's going to go to Bunny. That's also going to raise the impressiveness of the throne room considerably. And then we can get rid of the torch lamp. And I think I'm going to actually move the braziers a little bit so they illuminate the room a little bit better. So the next big project, I would say, is going to be getting the ritual room to look nice. Oh, and if you're wondering what I'm doing here, this is for a comms console. I'm just going to recess it into the wall. I think it's about time that I get a comms console, considering that I've had microelectronics for a long time. And comms consoles, even though they cost components, going to be a really handy tool for us to do trade with whomever. Okay, Bunny. I have 400 wood. Let's stop cutting. And, oh, my guest is finally leaving. They've been around a while. So there's the comms console. Powered up. And is there anyone to talk to? There is currently not. So if Bunny is no longer plant cutting, I would like her to sew in there, but I think what is even more important, because I'm just about out of steel, is to get her to do some mining. So I'm going to flip-flop her tasks here. And then I'm also going to tell Slave 2 to plant, cut, and grow as a higher priority. So Slave 2 should start sowing the rice. And then once it's all sown, I'll turn the grow lamp back on, the sun lamp. So Slave 1, it might be a bit of a problem. He is a bit of a, well, chemically fascinated, to say it as nicely as I can. And the issue with that is he is going to want drugs kind of all the time. So I have to keep an eye on him to make sure that he doesn't indulge. I don't really have a lot of drugs now, but I'm about to make a whole lot of beer, which is going to be an issue for him. I'm also going to make one heater here to heat up the high-tech research bench to speed up the research speed. And I'm going to go with an orbital trade beacon, but kind of a bait beacon, one that doesn't really connect to anything over here. And I'll move it into the base when I want it in the base. So Bunny's off to mine the compacted steel, getting us that heater. And then the purpose of this heater is so that we can do a little bit of brewing. I need to keep at least one room warm. I'll make 3, I think. Kind of reasonable. And Sven and Trustin are getting their psi focuses up. Oh, I didn't notice that. Sorry, No Luck. No Luck's been roughing it outdoors for a while. So there we go. A very modest setup. Definitely hoping to improve upon it soon. Have the slaves go put that out. And there's our heater, so we can get the fermentation barrels, and the beer won't spoil. I can leave this door open, and Duck is enslaved. So Duck, slave 3, head straight to the style bench. Ah, you got like that Duck Dynasty beer that you're now having removed. And then that means I need a little bit more clothing. So the body straps, I don't have enough plain leather, obviously, so we'll do it in light leather. And then the collars, again, in light leather. And then slave 3 is going to be assigned to slave clothing. Let's see. You are a night owl, so you're going to need a night designation. Taking a look again, you are terrible at all tasks, so you're like a hauler and a cleaner. You're also greedy, but I don't really care about that. So work priorities. Congratulations, you cut stone. That's all you do. Very simple existence. And here comes the collar. All right, I might as well get one more set. And I'll make this out of blue fur. Because we're going to get Kasai here. Well, maybe. The other thing is we could always do a public execution or a Arco offering. And yeah, we'll probably Arco offer Kasai for the... No, I'll do a public execution. Yeah, let's start that up. Just execute her now. The other advantage is that I get to have this here become the slave barracks rather than where it was in a hallway. So all that really matters is the 3 slaves are in attendance, and they were. So if we take a look at them, maxed, maxed, maxed. They are not going to rebel very, very eagerly. And that thug crew is on the wrong map tile, so doesn't matter. Another thing that I need to do is to extract some skulls. We, of course, want skull extractions and skulls to be set up everywhere, so let's get to that. With the wood or steel that we have, we'll be able to get ourselves some skull spikes. Just because we like to see it in the colony, not because we need to suppress slaves or anything like that. All right, looking pretty good. Slave 1. Would you be so kind as to ferment in the barrels? So one of the issues that I'm having is that Slave 2 simply can't keep up with the demand for cooking in order to start farming. So that's going to be an issue that I have to keep in mind and keep a watch on, is how much work I've tasked them with. And here's our trio topping up their side focus. So Sven is almost maxed out. Bunny is just doing maintenance to keep her topped up. And then Trustin is still climbing. So once Trustin gets all the way up to be able to psycast his most powerful psycasts, I'll go ahead and attack the... Mech cluster that is northwest and choking out the sun. At this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that No Luck can start to make limestone block structures. But the other thing that I could do, now that I have Morbid, is to set up sort of like Morbid slabs. So I'm going to do Morbid slabs in the Ritual Room, because the Ritual Room needs a little bit more, how should we say, attention, love. So cutting some skulls out. The last one I clicked was a strip, so I'm just watching so that we don't end up stripping, but extracting instead. And we can haul those skulls in. So, on a cold bog, I would say wood is probably the most plentiful resource. So we'll go ahead and set ourselves up with wooden skull spikes. So I'm going to be sticking skull spikes kind of in the corners of everywhere in order to satisfy the I'm around the design of my ideology requirements. And I maybe will go overboard and just cut out a whole bunch of skulls. Enough to make Henry VIII blush. Wanted prisoners. Well, that's a powerful Zeus hammer, but I don't want to host 13 prisoners for 11 days and have 2 mech clusters drop on me. Sounds like a lot of work. And for the rewards of just like a Zeus hammer, it's not worth it. Yeah. Let's get them skulls, man. So these slabs are going to raise the impressiveness a little bit, and then also make it so that the room satisfies our morbid needs. Ooh, thank you, Celeb. I'm going to haul Kasai out of there so I can clean the blood and for the room to be a little bit nicer. So we are up to 118, almost to the requirement of 120. The other thing I wanted to try is there is, if I recall, I'm going to have to strip up all the floors. If I recall, there's sandstone or smooth limestone under here that I could smooth in order for it to be prettier. So I'm going to work on that as well, trying to get it nice and pretty. Still waiting on Trustin to hit his Psi Focus max. So likely we'll attack the mech cluster sometime next episode, because I'm running out of time this episode. Unless he makes a good push here at the end. And I am just dotting our facilities full of skulls. Because skull spikes. As I add them, I get mood benefits from them. But you need to have a certain amount. So let's see. Yep, there we go. +2. Starting to climb now. So, this will be disrespected for a bit until I can figure out where the smooth limestone is. And then once I get the smooth limestone, we'll be able to fill in the rest of the floors with cut stone. What's going to be a little hard to do is to figure out if there's smooth limestone or rough limestone underneath the slabs, because I can't really see underneath the slabs, but I can mouse over them. But once all the floors are up, what I could do is I could do a smooth surface just to figure out where they are. Our rice is all sown. Bunny is back to cutting some trees because we just used an immense amount of wood for 16 skull spikes at 25 apiece. And Trustin is nearly topped up his side focus. You want to destroy the heal mech serum. Now. That's not going to happen, friend. Were you able to keep all your limbs? You did. I almost punched your torso to death. But, he wasn't able to do much more than that. Alright, no luck got inspired creativity. One of the things I ought to do is to have the anchor art for the inspired creativity, so I'm going to make sure that No Luck's next project is the legendary art piece to maximize the meditation. That is going to be very significantly helpful. So I'm going to rearrange the art in this room a little bit so that it's nice and symmetrical and ready for such a masterpiece. So this piece will go into the dining room. Slave 2 still having a pretty tough time trying to keep up with the cooking requirements, but at least we're not having to do it ourselves. So it does free us up a bit. And all of this got stripped up, so let's do a smooth surface. So it looks like I can smooth this area here and then floor up the rest. And I think what I'll do is I will throw down some concrete, which is ugly, but the purpose of the concrete is so that we can eventually fill it up with nicer flooring, not having to waste mediocre flooring temporarily. So now it is just a whole bunch of smooth floor tasks. Easy to do. Slave 1's back up. how was your beatdown catharsis? Good, I hope. Alright, no luck. Should be able to finish this art before having to go to sleep or eat. One could make the argument that, given that no luck has a construction of 12, I could also try like a royal bed or something like that. But I think an art piece to maximize their meditation would be ideal. And there it is. It is legendary. And we'll stick that in so that we meditate the fastest possible. So this is becoming increasingly impressive. It has some filth in there, so if we cleaned up the filth, it would be a little bit better. And I think at this point what I'm going to do is the large sculptures that I make at this will go into the ritual room so this can become respected. Because it is just on the threshold. Alright, if Bunny is... I just saw Bunny, stone cut. Which means none of these trees are mature? No, some of them are mature. I don't know what's going on with her priorities, but they're weird. There she goes. I have no idea why she was doing crafting at 3 over plank cut at 3. And here we go. We have a respected shrine. We almost have enough slate blocks for the pews, so I'm going to queue up the pews to be done now. And we need like one more slate block for that last pew. So I'm going to open up the slate block queue so that the next stone we cut is slate. And that will get our 4 pews, and then we can start to work on nicer flooring. Maybe fine limestone floors. But the shrine is, or temple, is 122, so it's going to meet the requirements for a lot of our rituals. And here it is, 100 slate. And I'll have Trusted make the pew. $124. That's looking good. Now, the power requirements for this base exceed the generation by a little. So I don't feel great about adding yet even more wood fire generators. Perhaps... I don't really have a good spot for wind. That's the only other problem. Is if I look at the terrain affordance, I suppose I could put wind here. But it is a lot of steel to build it. But I guess, because I don't want to be stuck having to cut trees down forever. I'd like to move away from fueled base. It's going to be a little difficult to protect the wind out here, but we'll do what we can. And then hopefully we'll have enough resources to be able to manufacture it. Which means queuing up some additional mining for Bunny. Well, that, my friends, is where we are going to be leaving off. Thank you for tuning in to episode 64 of the Archotechs, Under the Smoke. If you have any feedback or questions for me, please let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to chat with me or any other members of my gaming community, Rhadamant.com or the description of this video have a link to Discord. Thank you so very much for watching. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel. I'll catch you next episode. Farewell.